Hello everyone and welcome to the Azure Thursday Ignite special. In this edition of the Azure Thursday, we will focus on the things that were announced at Microsoft Ignite in the past days. And for those who are new to the Azure Thursday, the Azure Thursday is our monthly user group that has been going on for 3 years in the Netherlands. We started out as an in-person, employee-only event within Ordina and grew out to one of the biggest users groups in the Netherlands. And we all have to admit that these last 12 months have been challenging. And for us, today marks 12 months of online meetups. But besides taking things away from events, from the things we love from events, it has also offered us the opportunity to create something new, something that is more inclusive and more accessible for everyone. And I want to give a real shout out to the amazing team behind Azure Thursday that made time every month to create this amazing event and help shape the new Azure Thursday. That is now a show that is watched from all over the world, with speakers from all over the world. So thank you Luc, Jorrit, Roeland, Roel and Sjoukje for everything you have done. One of the things I want to highlight that the team has pulled together is keeping our relationship with our sponsors. Ordina, where it all began, Experts, our first official sponsor, Heroes, that helped us grow, and Wortel, Capgemini and Microsoft, we made our non-profit organization sustainable. Keeping our sponsors on board gave us the opportunity to route our sponsor money, which we before used for buying pizza and beers for you all, but now we can actually pay for sign language interpreters, so even more people can enjoy your content. So, thank you all, and let me start with introducing my co-host and good friend of the Azure Thursday, Esther Bartels. Bartel.
Well done,
And
Henk.
I practiced it so much.
No, but I promised I wouldn't give you a hard time on pronunciation of names. As you can hear, I struggle every now and then as well. So, no worries.
Yeah, and it's good and it is good for social distancing exactly now, I think. So, before we start introducing our guests that are all there in the backstage area, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name's Esther Bartel. I've been very active in the EUC, End User Computing community, and also very active as an MVP for the last couple of years, mainly focused on automated deployments, shifting to cloud migrations as well, and loving the new DevOps opportunities that are out there.
Cool. Yeah, you have been talking last month on Project Bicep.
Correct.
And I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite moment at Ignite?
Well, from a technical perspective, I just love the announcement and the keynotes. And I didn't even have enough time, basically, to go to all the cool sessions. So I've been watching a lot of recordings. My favorite thing, I have to say, was seeing the Pokemons in 3D.
Yeah, I think that is one thing my children also enjoyed. They were like, Papa, are you working or can I come in? So we have one announcement that we want to make on behalf of our sponsors, and I think you're also might be involved in that, Esther, and that is Azure Live. Azure Live is a conference organized by one of our sponsors, Wortel, and it is going to take place on the 13th of April. And we have a special link that is now being put in the chat by our lovely team. And if you're registered through that link, you might receive a VIP box. And you might ask, what is a VIP box? I don't know. They wouldn't tell.
No, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, I think you want that. So they are going to give away VIP boxes for everyone that registers through that link. Not to everyone, but they will pick a few from the pool that registers. So with that said, let's get in our guests. Hello, everyone.
What's
Hi,
up?
Hello.
Good morning,
Cool.
I think.
Yeah, I think we have everyone's sound is working, so that is always a good thing. Hi. So, welcome all. Let's do a round of introductions. I will first say from left to right. We have Lars Klint on that left side. Joining us from Australia, we have Suzanne Daniels from the Netherlands, and we have Seth Wires from Seattle. So thanks everyone for joining me. It is crazy to have you all on the stream from around the world, and it is actually working. We could have imagined that like 12 months ago, we would have been flying and being away from our home for weeks. So, Lars, good morning. It is very
It is morning, that's right.
And
It's 5:07 a.m., but that's okay.
it's okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you thought it was early for you.
Seth's going, what the hell?
5:07, Lars.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's there's only light in here because like I had 16 different lights actually going just to light the room now. It's pitch black dark outside.
That is good. And
Yep.
you told me on Twitter it is a very special day for you. Or you were lying on Twitter. That could
Yes,
also
in
be,
Europe.
right?
No, I would not do that, of course. Well, yesterday Australian time, but your time now, our time zones. Yes, yes, I turned 13 yesterday. Yes, today. Well played.
So, happy birthday still for our time zone. So that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself a little bit? What do you do? We know where you're from.
Sure. Well, I am actually Danish, which the name may give that away, but I've lived in Australia for a long time. I work as a Azure trainer, cloud trainer, maker of videos and wearing of hats. I'm an Azure MVP for some years now, and I like doing stuff for the community, like wearing hats.
Exactly. I think Amazon is still on the way and trying to find where you are. Because we
Maybe.
sent you a special Azure Thursday hat. Cool. Esther, do you want to introduce Suzanne?
Do I want to introduce Suzanne? That's going to take forever, to be honest. Because I just... She's already worried now. No, I was just going to say that I was so excited to have the opportunity to meet Suzanne a couple of times now, face to face, even last year with all the COVID-19 exceptions. So for me, Suzanne basically is my new goodie master or goodie dealer, so to speak. But I guess that's not the best introduction, to be honest, Suzanne. So maybe you want to do it in a more professional way.
Let me put on my professional face then. Okay. So, hi, I'm Suzanne Daniels. I work for Microsoft as Azure Developer PMM. Basically, well, one of the things I do is supply Esther with swag. So, but I do a lot of other things. Mostly fun stuff with developers and with technology. So, yeah, you might know me from one event or something like that. I feel intimidated now.
But I think you have two amazing things going on. Contributing today. Can you tell a little bit about
Oh, yeah,
that?
thank you. Yeah, I promised to pitch. Right. So one of the things I'm doing is running a weekly meetup with some friends. It's a meetup about open source. And each week we have a different topic. we do everything like languages on open source specific topics. How do you contribute? How do you write in documentation? But also some cool projects we think are interesting. If you are watching and you have an interesting topic, or you have a topic you think, hey, I know somebody, reach out. We like to be as diverse as possible.
So what is the link?
Oh, and you can find the meetup on contributing.today.
Cool. And we will put that in the chat. And then one final thing before we move to set. Hold on. There is Monday, the 8th of March. There is also something going on.
Yes, that's true. It's Ftw Conf. It's a conference where we celebrate diversity in tech. And we do that with 5 different tracks from, how to find a job, career advice, mental health, arts and crafts. And we even have a presentation from Human Rights Watch, which is really interesting. So check out the schedule at ftwconf.com. And join us, by the way, Monday, 5 p.m. CET.
Yeah, that will be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. And then Seth. Good morning.
Guten Morgen. No, that's German. I was trying to be international. It totally messed it up. My name is Seth Juarez. I lead AI and ML advocacy efforts at Microsoft. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love machine learning and AI. And I'm here to contribute in any way I can and that Hank tells me to. That's what I'm here for. I really enjoyed Ignite too. Ignite was fun.
Yeah, you
well,
broke
it
a lot
sure
of things.
looked like you had fun. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, it all started with funny pictures on Twitter that you broke the set.
That was the narrative that was put forth. Yes, that was what they were saying. I dispute
tell us the real story.
Not the real story. I'll tell you what happened. So I was basically, there was like this big mustache table, and we're like, what is this? And then there was in the middle of it like this ginormous, it looked like a Microsoft quarter. A quarter in the United States is just one of our big coins, right? And so it's just a big coin. And so I thought, it also looks like the Star Trek transporter thing. And so I got it in my head that I should stand on it. And so I went over there to stand on it, and they said, don't. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Cool. So was it supposed to...
What did you break, Seth? What did you break?
That's the narrative. They told me not to step on it, but it looked like look, all of us here, if you saw something that looked like a Star Trek transporter, you would have this moral compulsion almost within, to step on it and to feel like you were being transported. And I asked them if they could like get a steam machine in there and have us transport in on the giant Microsoft coin, but they said that was not possible, and so I almost stepped on it, and that's what I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, let's leave it with that and dive into the topic of Ignite. That is what we're all here for. If you have questions to us, put it in the chat, and our team will send it to us, and we will ask or start talking about your topics. So first, I think, at least for me, the biggest news was, what was it called? The mesh thing?
Microsoft Mesh.
Microsoft Mesh.
Thing.
Not Azure Mesh, Microsoft Mesh. So let's watch that video.
Connection is a spark that gives our lives meaning. It drives us to seek out others who feel the same way.
Why don't you input the data and we'll take a look together. Hey, Mari, what you got for me?
To find those who share our views, yet offer different perspectives.
So this net. Look over here.
Challenge us with new ways of seeing.
That I think we should.
Deepen our understanding. And enrich our lives.
最后一笔的时候，往前
Great things happen when we commit to something bigger than ourselves.
Take a closer look at it.
Place this here. Let's see how we go from there, okay?
This sense of collaboration and the feelings of connection it brings excites us.
Hey, just in time. I'm gonna move it slightly, okay?
It's yours, take it.
We have 2 planes right now on the same trajectory.
As we put people first, technology fades into the background and feels like anything but.
Aisha, what do you think?
I think if we had 330, maintaining 2800,
We'll be clear for approach.
Excellent.
This changes the way we see the world, and in turn, changes the world we see.
These numbers are looking great, actually.
There's promise in the possibilities, and what we see and create next will stretch the imagination.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Slowly coming towards the thumb.
A world without boundaries.
Good job. A lot better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Excellent. Slowly bring
A world where technology enhances, not limits, humanity. With people front, center, and in the spotlight. The future is here. And here can be anywhere. Introducing Microsoft Mesh.
Microsoft Mesh. So when I saw this video, I had to think of Lars, which
Sorry, I'm here.
conveniently skipped. The lights went off.
He turned off the light. I mean, it is 5 a.m. in Australia, and he's like, "Let me turn the." Oh, there it is.
Exactly.
So, if Microsoft Mesh is working properly, you should be able to see that I'm wearing like a Napoleon's hat. Is that right?
Correct.
Is it working? Excellent. Very good.
Yep.
So,
You know, it's like it's really there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, his name is Michel.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh.
So,
All right.
I feel
Okay.
like I
Sorry. Hank made me
I
do
want
it.
to reach through like the camera, right, and just like somehow like reach over to your head in Australia, but I don't want to hit Suzanne, you know. With Mesh, it's
Yeah, I
possible.
know exactly. So yeah, just duck. That would be so good. I'm wondering if they have an avatar with a moose head. I don't know.
well, for a minute, I really thought that I was watching the Llama Cam, Lars, to be honest.
Oh,
Yes, not quite the
But
llama.
that's not,
But, yeah,
that's
fair
not
enough.
on till at least an hour.
she
This
means like
is someone that knows.
with it off, it looked like the llama cam, Lars. Just to break it, don't want to break it to you, buddy.
Oh, yes. There's there is a llama cam. That's a different story, though. We can talk about llama cam, but that'll take.
I've
up
never
the whole
heard of a
hour.
llama cam.
What?
But the thing that's cool about Mesh
No, it's a.
is that if there is a llama cam, now we have a framework in Microsoft Mesh with spatial anchors that I can literally build an application to know exactly where it is. And if I'm wearing some mixed reality glasses, for example, and I drive by it, it can literally put a point on it. And that's cool, right? Because like the thing about mixed reality that's difficult for me is the amount of like information you need to make a thing be like believable. Like your moose heads, for example, Lars, was super believable. But how can we make it, you know, or to beam people up? And so that's the thing that I've found super exciting about Mesh. And I know like the end of the session, they had like this rave, which was interesting to me. and I don't want that to
Interesting.
obfuscate.
You're
I don't
being
want to
so nice.
obfuscate the fact that like this technology can change a lot of things, including if you like those kinds of. I don't go to clubs, because I'm not like. Could you imagine me in a club? I'd probably hurt myself and others. But there's other things that I do like doing, like exploring. Like remember they had the bridge that they were looking for faults, or for example, helping with the surgery. I would never help us help with that, but that was kind of cool. But that was what was interesting to me with Mesh. The other stuff, like being inside of a stadium and with an audience and fish. I mean, that was cool. I mean, if I were to be in that, I'd want to be the whale. But other than that, like the real interesting world changing use cases were very apparent to me.
Yeah, it is really amazing.
It was.
I saw you, Lars, I think, in 2017 on NDC, and you presented the HoloLens there, which was for me like, what is that? And what can you do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're now 4 or 5 years later, I want to say. 4 years. And it is crazy to see how it has been growing.
So it's kind of like HoloLens has met Teams now, is the way I see it. It's sort of like we had Teams meetings and they were getting really annoying because we all just sat here and talked at each other. I'm on a satellite connection, so I constantly talk over people, right? So there's all these things. Now adding Mesh to it, maybe we can actually meet in 3D and shake virtual hands, etc. So yeah, it definitely has potential to make people a little bit more close when they work or talk or whatever.
Yeah, so we have one question from the audience about Mesh. What is this Mesh different from the video they showed, let's say, a year ago?
I think I can answer that, maybe, unless someone else wants to.
I can't. So go ahead.
Yeah. Hey. So with the HoloLens, and this is only because I used to do a lot of stuff with HoloLens. There's this sort of you're on your own almost, right? If you wear that helmet or head gear thing, I mean, first of all, no one looks amazing in a HoloLens or any other VR gear for that matter. But you're very much on your own and you're sort of doing your own thing. And it was very cool that you can interact and you can, pinch things and you can zoom in and out and you can do all the things in 3D, kind of hand gestury things, but you were very much on your own. There was not this sort of sense that you were, like Microsoft likes to say, collaborating with someone, being next to someone or doing a thing or something together, right? Because you were in this sort of secluded platform. And what Mesh is now trying to do, I'm guessing, we haven't actually seen any of the sort of real world non-CG use cases, is that we can use this but talking to each other. Now, so there's something called holoportation that was invented by Microsoft maybe 3 years ago or something, which was the idea of having many high-definition cameras that would create a very, very accurate 3D rendition of you or whatever is in your space, and then holoport that to wherever the other person is. And it worked really well. It's just you had to have like $10 million worth of cameras. But other than that, it was fine. So now they're kind of trying to with Mesh, bringing all that together. And you don't need holoportation. You could be an avatar in it. You don't need a HoloLens, which is expensive. You can use another mixed reality headset that's a couple $100. You can even use it from a PC. So they're very much sort of leveling the playing field for being part of this sort of 3D world. And now that we have the zombie apocalypse, we all have to be at home anyway. So it's very timely, I think.
That is really cool. So that piece of the keynote, I'm always wondering, how do they make it? I saw a video of Alex Kippen in a green screen studio with a lot of cameras on him. Did they use that holoportation for him then to put him in Altspace VR?
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. Yep.
Oh, wow.
I'll be honest, they give us a preview of the important segments. Look, people don't realize, but the reason why we know stuff when we're doing the hosting is because they give us all all of this like on Saturday and Sunday, and we have to watch them, like all of them. Well, as many as we can that we think are gonna make news, so that we can say something smart about them. We didn't get that one, right? That one we did not get, and so we weren't able to see it, and we watched it with everyone live, right? And so we had never seen that. There's 6 that take on 3 shifts at Ignite, and that's the one that we had not seen, and the one we knew the least about, and the one that they wanted us to talk the most about. And so we, just like everyone else, just sat there and were glued and watched, like, what is this? And then once we understood, right, and we're like, okay, then we could talk about it. But that's the one we did not see, and it's smart that they give us these things beforehand, because otherwise, like, we would be exhausted by watching everything and then having to go out and have a lot of energy. And so it's really smart. But that one we did not get. We get the other ones though.
So
maybe you can answer this, Seth. I have a question for Seth, or Suzanne. Maybe Suzanne knows. I'm not sure. Why? So I sat there and watched the keynote, the repeat, because it was 2 a.m. whatever it started at the first time, and when James Cameron came on, I realized that he was just talking like a normal person. Why is the keynote then rehearsed to death so that it looks like everybody's just a stiff piece of board? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but I don't know. There's just this sort of disconnect between then James Cameron came on and just talked about what he knows, to someone that's talking really sort of about something that seems really, really, really rehearsed. Is that right?
So the thing is, look, everyone has different presentation styles, and when you get to the level of, like, you're showing stuff off at Microsoft, there's some people that like to prepare a lot, and sometimes that can come off as rehearsed. But the reality is that they're trying really hard to convey information in a really, like, stressful situation.
That works
for them. For me, my presentation style is way different, right? I know that the worst thing that can happen is I'm going to say something dumb, but it's going to be funny, which is also good, right? And so I embrace that. But others want to make sure, because the reality of the matter is, with a company as large as Microsoft, you could say something wrong and have a stock price move. And you got to be careful with that, because a lot of shareholders rely on the concise presentation. I'll tell you, I was in Vegas once for a big conference, and one of the production people that I was working with, they were like, yeah, some tech CEO showed up, and it was funny because he had, like, bodyguards and stuff, and I'm like, what? That's so dumb. They're just tech CEOs. I'm like, well, if someone were to take them or hurt them, you could hurt a lot of shareholders' value that are holding millions and millions of dollars worth of stock. And all of a sudden they were like, oh, I get it. Right. And so that's the thing. And so it may come off as rehearsed. Right. And if you watched for example, our In a Focus show that we had day 2, and if you haven't watched it, it was a great show. I had a really good time with it. Some of that stuff was rehearsed. Some of it wasn't. And the thing is, you probably would not be able to tell, right? Because of the way that I host things. But if you're just by yourself, it's hard. Like, imagine having a camera on you, like, right now, and people watching live. Wouldn't that be really weird?
I would have said yes a year ago, but now I feel experienced and am not frightened as much by seeing that little light on the cam being on. But I have to admit that when last year I had to make the shift to presenting from home, it was terrifying at the beginning, because you're just speaking to a screen and you're not having that interaction with the audience that you're used to in the live event. So I can totally understand that that changes a bit of the dynamic of the keynotes that we are used to see. So thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, notice that the keynotes are actually shorter too. They're not an hour anymore. Remember how they used to be like an hour? Now they're 30 minutes, because everyone understands that, like, y'all could open YouTube or watch something else at the same time that this thing is on, right? And so it's a challenge, and so it's even more stressful for folks. And for example, when you're giving a very, like, for demo, let's just say, for example, a demo in a large keynote that's now 30 minutes, you will have a demo budget of 3 minutes. And there's literally hundreds and hundreds of people that have worked on a thing, and you've got 3 minutes to make it look awesome. And that's a lot of pressure, a lot. And I see that
That's
among some
hard.
of my colleagues. Yeah, it's like I did a session. We did an Azure machine learning session, me and Cassie and Anthony. And what they do is they tell us these are the things that we think we want to land the most. And then what we do is we put a story together to support those things. But again, like these are hundreds and hundreds of people that have worked on a thing for 6 months, maybe. And now I've got to fit that and like 20 other things into a 30-minute slot. It's a lot of pressure. And some people, when it seems rehearsed, it's not that it's rehearsed, it's they want to hit exactly the right thing, and maybe the delivery isn't good.
Yeah.
But like when you were watching me at Ignite, half the stuff I was saying I was reading. Did you know that?
Yeah.
You're reading now too.
I'm
Yeah, I'm not reading anything now. Right? I'm just looking at y'all's faces, beautiful faces.
Oh, really?
I'm reading.
Just to be sure.
Yeah. But yeah, half the stuff I'm saying, like when I'm talking about partners, just like at Ignite, there's partners that have a booth, right? And they want their message to get. I have to talk about their message, right? But I'm reading it, but it doesn't look like it, right? I mean, I hope it didn't look like it. I mean, did it? Are y'all gonna be honest with me? Let's be straight. There's no one else here.
This is the moment where we put
did it look like I was reading it? No one's answering.
No,
you look beautiful, Seth.
Yeah, very natural.
So I really love. Yeah, I was gonna say, Seth, I really love you giving us some insights on Ignite backstage and the process.
Yes,
but I'm also dying to talk about the tech itself, being in the whole DevOps scene nowadays. I just have one question. So where can I get it, and when can I play with it and start developing some cool end user applications to really bring it to the masses?
For Mesh, I don't know enough about Mesh because my space is in AI and ML. I honestly, the first thing I would do is go to the docs. I would just literally Google with Bing Microsoft Mesh, and then go to the docs and start. That's what I would like. Literally, that's probably like Friday. I have like some time after, and that's when I try to block off my Fridays to go learn a thing, and that's when I'm going to go look at all the new stuff, right? Just like you all, because I don't get access to that stuff because that's not my area.
And I really expected you to already have the new HoloLens and to already be on that coin beaming yourself up. But
I know, I wish. But like I said, we all have day jobs, right? All the hosts have day jobs, and mine is AI and machine learning, right? And Donna's is Power Platform. And so sometimes we're seeing just
hologram at this moment. Yeah. We can't pinch him, right? Like, no.
You can. Ouch. Right, but I'm just kidding. We're trying to make our Microsoft Mesh here without using Microsoft Mesh yet. But like I said, I just got to go look it up, just like everybody else, because it's not my area. But when it comes to machine learning, that is my area, and I do know what's going on, and I know what's coming down the pipe. I know what we're aiming to do, and I know the goals, and I try to convey it as an advocate to everyone that's watching and everyone that's interested.
Yeah, I think at Ignite there were 3 major announcements about AI. It was the first chapter in the Book of News, AI, so that was convenient. So maybe you can tell a little bit more about the semantic search capability in Azure Cognitive Search. What is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And let me set it up like this. Pablo Castro had a really good Microsoft Mechanics thing. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to have Luis on the AI show to talk a little bit more about it, to show us how it works. So make sure if you have time to tune into that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It might be late for some of y'all, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. It'd be like 8 p.m. on a Friday. That's not fun. It's like, hey, everybody, Friday night, what are we going to do? Watch the AI show. Well, you can't go outside, so yes, watch the AI show. I'm just kidding. But the cool thing about semantic search, and this is the important part, is when you're doing regular search, it's based on what's called a lexical analysis. So basically, when you put a word in, like hose, for example, it's going to search in an inverted index for a thing called a hose, and it's going to rank them by how many times they appear in a document, right? That's the standard way of searching. It's just basically lookup tables, and then the crawling basically finds all the words. It puts an inverted index together, and it says there's a count here. There's even scores like term frequency divided by document frequency, and that tells you how to rank the things out. This is a paper from Google a long time ago, from the founders of Google. So that's the standard thing. But here's the thing. When you're searching for what's the best hose, right? You're going to get answers for plumbing, for example, like what's the best hose for under your sink, or what's the best. But what if you added a little bit of context somehow, right? And what if you had like, what's the best hose for dirt, for example? What semantic analysis does is it takes the documents that are found by using the inverted index, right? And then it sorts them in a different way. So if you have the word hose, that word hose is semantically related to a word like garden, for example, and semantically related to a word like dirt. And so if you think of a word, and when you use machine learning, you can actually project words into these things called vectors. And the way that you do that is Bing has been pioneering doing machine learning and deep learning forever to be able to rank things. So what we've been able to do with the Bing models is we're able to project the words into a vector, and then what we can do is we can measure the distance between those words. The best way to measure the distance between them is through this thing called cosine. This is one of the ways. Cosine similarity. If you have two vectors in space, the angle between them tells us how close they are, right? That angle. And so what we're doing now is we're taking the results, using the Bing models, finding similar words in context, with semantic meaning, and then re-ranking the documents. So now you might be able to search for something like with a hose and dirt, and it might understand that you're working on your garden and be able to rank the results that way. So you're getting results that are actually useful because it understands what you mean, instead of just looks at the words and does a hash table lookup basically on what it is. And what they've added also is they've also added spelling correction on the way in. So if you spell it wrong, right, it'll fix the spelling, understand the semantics, re-rank it for you, and for everyone that's watching, all you have to do is make an API call and point at stuff. And that's it. And so basically you are creating a search engine powered by advanced machine learning that not only understands the words, but it understands the context. And if you're asking a question, it will even put the answer to the question. Like, what's the capital of France? It'll give you the answer, right? And so that's the power of semantic search. Does that make sense? The difference, because I don't think we hit that hard enough. It's a lot different. It understands what you mean, not just what you typed, and that's the power of it.
That basically makes it also a lot more inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and the cool thing is it's pointed at all your documents. You can have a bunch of documents on blob storage, for example, and you point the indexer at it, and it will index all your documents. And not only that, but let's just say you have pictures. You could add. Oh man, it just went out of my head. You can add skills. That's it. It's skills. You can add skills in between, so you can look at as the indexer goes by. It's like, oh, that's a picture. Let's do this skill. It will. You know how there's a cognitive service that will tell you what's in the picture. It will pull that out and add it to the index. And so now when you're searching, you're not just going to find like Word docs, but you'll find actual pictures that have the things that you said with the context and the semantics. It's really like every business has this like virtual junk drawer we call a share. Imagine just pointing that pointing the indexer at that, and now you have the intelligent ability to understand and see what's in there at the tip of your fingertip. It's really, I wish we had more time, but it's really cool. And I do have more time. I'm gonna have Luis tomorrow on to talk about this. It's actually really cool stuff, and they said it really fast because it was one of a 50 other things they needed to talk about, right? But it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I realized. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, what I liked was the demo by David Carmona, where he searched in the movie, Avengers movie. That was a fun demo. I like that. Being able to search inside a movie and it understood context as well. That was really, yeah. By the way, that whole session was mind-blowing. It was, if you say half an hour and put in a lot of stuff, I think that was the most dense session I watched the past few days.
So definitely want to put in our backpack.
And I would that would be the first candidate to search on it for me to just look up what did they say again at what point.
Are there any other questions? Because I love this stuff. By the way, this is cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I have to be honest and say that I still feel such a noob when we're talking about AI or machine learning or all the other augmented reality stuff. Because for me, it's still very important to, I'm not going to say like have a physical connection, but scripting and programming still feels more like having a clear understanding of the building blocks, instead of just making it more a word or a concept that still feels like it's harder to fully get your head around. So I do apologize if I'm a bit quiet, but I'm still trying to process all the cool stuff that is coming our way.
Yeah, I think we should be clear that make no mistake, machine learning is programming. It's not magical. The output of machine learning is a thing called a model, which is basically a learned algorithm as opposed to a programmed one. But it's a file, and it's something you have to put, just like a assembly if you're a .NET person, a jar file if you're a Java person, or a bunch of Python files if you're a Python person. The reality is that machine learning is no different than programming. The only difference is that instead of like thinking about the steps, is you're literally giving it data for it to figure it out. And that sounds magical, but that it really isn't, because you have to give it a framework or a structure from which it can learn, and sometimes it doesn't. And then there's ethical issues, right? Because you don't know what it's doing and you need to figure that out. But basically it's programming, but different. It's programming with data as opposed to programming with steps. And hopefully that helps, because now, I mean, Esther, you could totally do that. Like, you could learn machine learning in a month. Don't you think, Hank? I mean, anybody could.
Absolutely. You definitely can. Use the
So
code
I'm hearing a new challenge.
Yeah. Don't make it more mysterious than it has to be. That's the worst thing we can do. Anthropomorphizing AI is the worst thing we could do.
Cool. So let me make a bridge to another project that was announced at Microsoft Ignite, and that connects very well to Llamas and AI. And that is Azure.
What doesn't?
Everything
Great
connects
answer.
to Llamas. Wait, this one? No, this one. Okay. So Azure Percept, that one, the new IoT thing. I missed it, and I just saw that it was there. Do you know anything about that set, or Lars? Because I think that would go magically together. Llamas and
I
AI.
do. I do. I looked at it because we had Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott on our show. I think it was yesterday morning, my time, and that was one of the ones that she was like, "Oh, look at this!" And so I went and looked at it. It looks like it's like a hardware development kit for you to do specialized AI things. And there's one that for audio and one for vision, and there's some models that you can download and use, pre-built ones that are directly on there. And so imagine a situation where you have an idea for AI and you have some models that are pretty good, right, for audio and for vision, and you can literally just start making things to prove out if you can make a product. And so it's basically the marriage of IoT and AI with models that have been pre-built that you can put together. And I looked at that, and I know our my colleague Paul, who does developer relations for IoT, messaged me. He's like, "Hey, you want to get your hands on some of this?" And I'm like, "Yes, please. Let me play with all the things." And so it's a really good way, because now AI is starting to come out of the computer and into like the edge. And so we've got to figure out ways to do it, because these models they're very fast, but if you have to make API calls at like 60 frames a second, that's a problem. And so we got to put these things on devices closer to the edge, and that's a good way to start doing it. And I like this called Percept, because of perception, right? We have one for vision and one for hearing or speech, I guess, if you want to talk to it. But I'm excited to play with them. Hopefully I'll get some, and then we'll put them on the AI show. We have our show tomorrow, but I'm trying to get more stuff in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so it sounds ideal to just train your model in the cloud, pick it up, and then run it on the edge in a disconnected or somehow low connected scenario, which will also probably solve your problem of detecting your llamas.
I'm going to put one on the llama, I think. That's easy.
So that it can detect
Edge llama.
others. Do you actually have real llamas, Lars?
Put them in
Is this
mesh.
like a recurring theme. Is this? Do you have llamas at home?
No, I do. Yeah, we got about 25 of them in 2 paddocks, and I put them on the internet, llamaCam.com.au. And that was like a first version of me nerding out with stuff when I couldn't go anywhere, and it's not online for another 10 minutes. Actually, I have a window right here, and it's still dark, I think. Yeah, there's no point showing you. And I've been talking to Hank about how to expand on this idea, because watching a paddock with no llamas, because I can't put cameras everywhere, is not very interesting. Yeah. So if I could somehow detect llamas with AI, ML, whatever, and then tell people, hey, llamas are here now, or do some other stuff,
Dude,
that would be
build this.
I started creating a model for it.
Like literally a half hour. I already have code.
Throw in a satellite internet connection with limited data capacity, and we'll talk.
Oh, the model's at the edge. Like you can train the model in the cloud.
Yeah, okay.
Move the model to the edge. And then you could send messages via the IoT hub. And if it doesn't get to the IoT hub, it doesn't get there. Right? And that's the cool part.
True.
And so the cool thing is there's a way to do it. Like, look, I was in Kenya once on assignment, and the people at the wildlife reserve in Kenya came to us and they were like, "We're so glad you're here. We have a problem with our fences that if they break, the lions get out and kill people." And we're like, "Oh, we should probably fix that."
That is a problem, I guess.
And they said the problem is that these devices are disconnected. But are they always powered? Yeah, they're always powered. They have solar power. And I'm like, oh, that's not a problem, right? Basically, the computation for AI can happen at the edge, and that's what Percept is all about. So you can run those models at the edge, and if the device is not connected, like it can have it could buffer up a bunch of like oh, I see something, and then the timestamp, and then when it's connected, it'll just boop send all those messages up, which are super small, right? Like a little JSON thing that says I saw this at this time, and it would totally work, man. And I would love to, like, if you want to work on that with me, dude, I would totally help with that. And the model's easy to write. I literally have code that detects. I have a model that detects whether I'm doing like rock, the paper, or scissors, and it does it in the browser at like, you've seen this one, Hank, right? It does it like every 100 milliseconds. It predicts, and it does it inside the browser.
Yeah.
It's not even. It's on the client side. It's
Yep.
the model. It's bananas.
It's pretty cool. But Azure Percept will make that even easier because you don't have to code, if I understand it right. It is like the integration of deployment, IoT Edge, IoT Hub, everything to one interface. So I can just train a model and say deploy to that device.
We should try to get an Azure Percept Vision one over to Lars for the Llama Cam. We got to figure this out.
I'm on.
That's
totally.
I'm looking at
delivery takes 3 years, but
I'm looking at this llama picture that you made on the Llama Cam. This is beautiful. This is beautiful work, Lars. I mean, stellar. I feel like I want to look at the only time I ever seen llama. The only time I've seen a llama was in Peru, and it was a beautiful shot that we put. And at the beginning, we used to do this show called MVP Show, and it ends with the camera on a llama. It's beautiful.
But
everybody
this
loves llamas.
almost feels like a moment in current days virtual meetups where we are gonna ask, do you want to have a virtual room or a breakout room, guys?
Well, it's tempting.
That's what I figured. And then come back in half an hour and we'll have our llama detection working. Awesome.
Llama Cam.
I was trying to get a llama hat. Didn't work.
You should have asked for a llama hat.
Yes, we definitely should have gotten you one.
I'm just looking for the nice lady doing the signing. How does she sign a moose hat? Anyway.
Yes, one question from Silver. Is Percept available for the public, or are Seth and I and Suzanne only allowed to play with it?
I saw a place where you could go buy it. That's what I'm like. I'm looking at the. This is in the AI blog with Azure Percept. Microsoft adds new ways for customers to bring AI to the edge, and there's like 3 devices. I knew of 2, but there's 3, and there was a way to go buy it. Like I gotta find it. It's in Docs. Where is it?
I think it was just in the Microsoft Store that you can just go for it and
really
buy one.
Really?
Always go to Mary Jo. She knows all her stuff. Mary Jo. There was a link. Like I want to go learn about it because sometimes they don't tell us stuff, right?
Exactly.
But
so the last thing I wanted to touch in the last 7 minutes was I don't know if it is new, the PowerFX language that was announced. It is somehow Excel meeting something. So Suzanne, you did some research in that. Can you tell what it is all about?
I did. No, so it is. PowerFX was kind of interesting because PowerFX, they introduced it like this is cool for low code for people who are familiar with Excel. And then I was like, wait, what? So I had to dig in the blog immediately. And looking at the examples on the blog post they made, it kind of reminded me of back in the days when I started programming with Pascal and then Visual Basic and then some VBA stuff. It really reminds me of that, making coding like a breeze. So it was kind of familiar to me, and I think that making it open source and available, I think this really has a lot of potential to become a great standard. It is already used for the Canvas apps, so it is quite easy to learn. I tried it out a while back. Takes if you are familiar with coding, it takes not that much time. But if you are new to it, this is a great way of learning it. If you can do Excel, you can code. That's cool, right? It's
making it more intuitive. So So it's easier for non-coders or non-scripters to also become more interactive in a coding way.
Yeah, if you know what you want to look up, or you can just do that without very complex actions. And this is what happened to a lot of languages: is they get more and more complex. And this is it has been around for a while, those efforts. It's cool to see this picking up and being this prominent. I was really surprised by that. Really, yep. That's very cool.
Pretty cool.
We should paste the link in the chat, probably.
By the way, I did find a link for where to buy this stuff. Awesome. I finally found it.
Yay.
Is it eBay?
Not yet. Not until we buy a couple, Lars. Here's. Let me type it in. Here's the link.
Perfect.
Good.
Yeah, I think it is also in the. Yeah, it is in the chat. Perfect. So that brings us to the end of this episode. So I'm going to do one lightning round where you all three can say what was the most exciting thing about Microsoft Ignite this year. So Lars, you're first.
I might be really boring, but I'm loving the whole idea of passwordless authentication that is coming into Azure. So you don't need any passwords anymore, because people are terrible at passwords. We mess it up constantly. Just look at Mr. Troy Hunt. He's made a business out of our incompetence, right? So yeah, that was really cool to me. I think it'll change a lot of things.
Yes, totally. Suzanne.
So for me, well, the coolest thing I watched, and I'm earlier, is the session by Mitra Aziz. Sorry, watching probably. But that session really was inspiring to me, and a glimpse in what is actually possible with AI and where we are innovating. So that was my takeaway. Put it in your backpack. Watch it. It was really inspiring. And Avengers, who can go wrong? So
finally said.
By the way, if you didn't watch Emma Williams, she is amazing. She did research in languages and has a PhD in like Beowulf and dragons, and she leads some of the team's work. And the thing she said is that our frontline worker push started more than 2 years ago, because she knew it was important. And what she does is she tells her PMs and folks to go out and do 12-hour shifts with frontline workers so they can have empathy and understand the features that they need to build for teams. And I was like, you're awesome. And so that's Whoa. Emma Williams. You should find her. Their people literally do not, she said, we do not write a single line of code until we understand profoundly what we're solving, for whom, and why. And it was really cool. Like, having people like that at Microsoft is just absolutely amazing. She's so cool. So if you look her up, she was in a session called Into Focus, like 16 minutes in. She's really cool. And that was super, super cool to talk to her, by the way. That was mine.
Cool. Then thank you so much for joining us. Lars, for waking up very early on your birthday yesterday, which is today. Suzanne for joining us from the Netherlands, and Seth from Seattle will still has to start working.
Robin.
And Esther, thanks so much for being a co-host today. And I want to introduce and talk to you a little bit about what is next week. So next week we will have 3 sessions again. It will not be a podcast style, but it will be 3 presentations. One will be from Dawood Idris, also an MVP in AI, and he will talk about best practices to deploying MERN stack applications on Azure, which makes me really curious what MERN is. I have no idea. Maybe you, Esther, do you know what it is?
No, but you definitely have me signing up for next week.
So that will be really cool. Then Robin Smorenberg will talk about the Azure Bakery. And according to his description, he says, we will bake a delicious layered Azure cake.
Yeah,
So
that
I'm
got me
expecting
hungry.
cake. Yes.
Yeah, with a picture of cake every time, and it's really fun.
So that will be great. And finally, we will have Jonah Anderson talking about things to consider before migrating an old .NET application to the cloud, where we're going to find out that projects turned into a fiasco. That I think she's going to talk about her project. Find out that a project turned into a fiasco, not because of Azure, but of other factors. And never make the same mistakes. So that will be, I think, useful for us all.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Thank you all for watching. And let's play some commercials from our sponsors. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.